Hello ladies and gentlemen and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host Brett Murphy, and for today's video, it is going to be another entry into the Movie Nerds Club. So for those of you who don't know what the Movie Nerds Club is, it is a group of smaller movie-based content creators who come together on the first Saturday of every month and release our own individual opinions on the same topic. And for this month, we have decided to go with the top 5 annual holiday rewatches. Well, everyone except for Larry. So there isn't really much else to say in terms of build up to the video itself, except for the fact that I highly recommend you go check out my fellow Movie Nerd Club members' channels, which of course will be linked in the description, and I also have a playlist dedicated to the Movie Nerds Club on my channel where you can find the rest of the videos that I have released since I've been a part of this club. And so with all that being said, let's hop right into things. Number 5, the Harry Potter franchise. Okay, look, I know I'm not supposed to include entire franchises or have honorable mentions because that is in fact cheating, but come on, I can't just choose one Harry Potter movie like you can't just watch one Harry Potter movie and not all the rest. Plainly and simply, I adore this franchise. I've been watching these movies since I was probably like 4 or 5 years old. And yes, I do watch them fairly frequently throughout the entire year, but the time of year that I crave to rewatch these movies the most is the holiday season. However, for me, it's not just the Christmas holiday season, but I would say it's anywhere between October 1st and December 31st is my favorite time of year to watch these movies. I find you can watch them in October during spooky season and they work perfectly fine as Halloween movies. You can watch them as just plain old fall themed movies during November, or you can watch and enjoy them as Christmas movies throughout December. So that 3-month time period, if you include Halloween as a holiday as well on top of Christmas, is my favorite time to rewatch this franchise, and I do it every single year. Number 4, Home Alone. I could have also said Home Alone and Home Alone 2, but again, I don't want to cheat on every single entry on this list. And if I have to decide which of these two captures the Christmas spirit better, I think I'd go with the original Home Alone. Don't get me wrong, I love Home Alone 2 Lost in New York. I love, of course, the New York setting, there's snow everywhere, and it's very much so still set at Christmas, but it just doesn't hit those Christmas vibes quite as well as the original. What blows my mind the most about this movie is that this is definitely the movie that I have seen the most on this list, and probably among the movies that I've watched the most in my entire life. Basically, at least in Canada, as soon as it hits November 12th, the day after Remembrance Day, this movie will be on every single day on some channel. On top of that, you can find it on pretty much any streaming service. I mean, during the holiday season, this movie basically gets crammed down your throat more than any other. And despite all that, I still have not grown tired of it. I'm still not sick of rewatching this movie every single time it pops up on TV. I love it. I really do love it. I'm always still rooting for Kevin. I'm always still laughing at Harry and Marv. And above all else, I am always still getting hit with those Christmas feels. Number 3. The Polar Express. Now I know this definitely isn't everyone's favorite Christmas movie, and it will likely not end up on any of my other fellow Movie Nerds Club members' lists. But I unapologetically love this movie, and here's the thing. People's main argument against this movie is just the fact that the animation does not hold up very well at all. It just has that very uncanny valley feel, and people just really don't jive with it. But I really feel that people are overlooking the fact that this movie released in 2004. This wasn't even the infancy of this technology, this was the conception of this technology. This is really where it sort of began. And this movie doesn't get enough respect for pioneering this technology. Aside from that though, this movie captures the Christmas feel, that Christmas holiday spirit, better than almost any other on this list, I would argue to say. I just love it. It is unique, it is fun, it knows what it is, and it absolutely embraces it. And yes, I do feel that the journey is better than the destination, and by saying that, I mean I actually like the bits of them being on the Polar Express in that journey more than I actually like when they reach the North Pole. I still think that there are some fun and thrilling bits in there while they're at the North Pole, but it just doesn't quite have the same magic that being on the Polar Express does. Regardless, I love the music in this movie. I do genuinely, with all of my heart, love that journey on the Polar Express. I love the shenanigans that all of the main characters get up to, and I just love the messages in this movie about belief and giving is better than receiving and looking out for each other. There's a lot to love here, so don't just disregard this movie because the animation hasn't held up that well, you know, when it released in 2004, but enjoy it for the journey and enjoy it for the Christmas holiday feels. Number 2, Disney's A Christmas Carol. Yep, we are back at it again with a CG animated movie that a lot of people like to bag on because the animation hasn't aged that well in a decade. And funny enough, it is the exact same person that brought us the Polar Express, Robert Zemeckis, back in the director's chair here, once again pushing this technology forward. And just like I said with the Polar Express, this movie, even if you don't like the animation, you gotta show some respect. You really do, because even if it doesn't hold up that well today, if it wasn't for this movie and the Polar Express and everything in between and everything since, you wouldn't have all the fancy CG animated stuff, both movies and video game cinematics and everything that we have today. But in terms of the movie itself, I think this is the best retelling of Charles Dickens' original story. Yeah, I said it, and this is a story that has been done to absolute death. From the highest budgeted of movies to the lowest budgeted of school plays. You can guarantee that you will see this movie in some form or another every holiday season. But out of all of them, I find this one is the best. There is just something about this CG animated style that no play on stage or movie, even with a ton of CGI, can quite recapture. And speaking of Jim Carrey, because a lot of people just like to refer to this one as Jim Carrey's A Christmas Carol, I love how he fully commits to each of these roles. Yes, each of these roles because he stars as Ebenezer Scrooge, but also as the Ghost of Christmas Past and the Ghost of Christmas Present. But I love how he gives each of them a distinct style, a distinct voice that makes them unique from one another. Everyone really does seem to have their own personal favorite iteration of Charles Dickens' classic, and this just happens to be mine. And number 1, the Christmas classics. Yeah, I know, okay, sorry, I'm cheating here again. But I, once again, just can't choose one and only one. However, I will narrow it down to 3. The 3 Christmas classics that I am guaranteed to watch every single year are the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the original Frosty the Snowman, and the original Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Those are the 3 pillars that hold Christmas up. They are the guaranteed rewatches that I myself, and I believe everyone else, should be watching every single year. I have been watching these Christmas classics for quite literally as far back as I can remember. And even if I missed out by some chance at Christmas time on every other single movie I mentioned on this list, I wouldn't miss out on these 3. And that is why I love them so much, and they are the number 1 pick on my top 5 holiday rewatches. So that is all for today's video, folks. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with my top 5. And while you're at it, feel free to let me know what your top 5 annual holiday rewatches are as well. Once again, I highly recommend checking out the channels of my fellow Movie Nerd Club members. Each of them will be linked in the description, and these are some of the best, most genuine and authentic and wonderful people on this platform. They all have fantastic content, so be sure to gift them with a little bit of extra holiday spirit, especially those Scrooges, Alyssa of Mainly Movies, and Larry from Chili Boy Productions. Hit that subscribe button, comment on their most recent videos, tell them that I sent you, give them a thumbs up, and just spread the joy around. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you'd like to see more content, consider subscribing to my channel and ringing that little bell icon. That way you can be notified about all of my latest uploads. And as always, stay safe, thank you so much for watching, and that's a wrap. Hey you, yeah you, if you made it this far, just know I appreciate you, and while you're here, consider hitting that subscribe button.